Okay, I'll call the meeting to order for the May 19th, 2025 San Miguel County Open Space Commission. And we are lucky to have three guests today. The main thing on our agenda is to discuss kind of the history of the accomplishments and the evolution of the steps to get us where we are today with some amazing conservation preservation plans in place. Really have a really great foundation, and in going over some of the stuff, some of the history, I'm just absolutely amazed at how many people were involved and how many steps it took. Like the step here led to the next step, led to the next step, and it kind of became evident when I tried to put this little rough timeline together. But at this point, I'd like to introduce April Montgomery from the Telluride Foundation, and way back to, I think the Telluride Foundation was part of putting that together. I don't think so. I saw the name in there in the back. Or maybe that was this one. And
Might have been Telluride.
April goes way back to some of the original open space and recreation and the planning department and some of the early discussions and creations of the high country area. And Alessandra was involved, Alessandra Jacobson, thank you for coming, was involved as a college student, right? Or
Yeah, well, pretty much.
Was it
I actually postponed my graduation to come and do my field work here to get an undergraduate research grant.
And that was in doing some of the science to help with the South
help-
Alpine zone.
Yeah, to help a PhD from CU Boulder, Barbara Inyan, who was a student of Mark Williams, who had done a lot of research in the area.
Save that for later. Because I'm just introducing you. And then Gary Hickox, who was our first official Open Space Commission chair.
Jay Michael for about 3 weeks, and then he stepped down.
And then his many other roles and hats as far as also helping to acquire, or making it happen to acquire many mining claims up in the high country area. And I'd like for them to just kind of fill in some blanks, and for us to just get an appreciation and a gratitude for all that's come before. And I know there are probably 50 names of people that I spoke with Roberta Peterson this morning on the phone, and she kind of filled in a few of the blanks too. But just to let people know, way back to when in the 70s, a master plan and a comprehensive development plan kind of identified some of the regional areas and set up some guidelines for maybe preserving them. And 93, 94, 96 open lands plan, which April has now, was created, went out, and that people went out to identify properties of high value using a rating system, and the high country values, whether it's wildlife or how much might it be developed, or the trails or connectivity, landscapes. And that was used as a reference in discussing each area. And then in that process, I understand from Lance McDonald that y'all realized the value and the importance of some of these different areas and the mining claims that were up there. And so, Gary, you can speak more to that in a little bit. And then people like Roberta Peterson, Mike Rositzky, helped write some of that verbiage. And Lance McDonald, you guys can help us understand what went down. Not that we need the exact details, but we're just trying to get the big picture to understand how these early things kind of set the groundwork and the foundation for what we have today. And I'll eventually show the high country area zone in our land use code. And the reason we're doing this is on our work plan to review this. And I'm not sure any of our even commission members even know about the high country area. So when we started looking at that, to kind of go back and see where it all came from. And then it wasn't until 1995, I believe, that the resolution came about to create the official open space, San Miguel County Open Space Commission. From the Telluride Regional Area Wildlife and Recreation Plan, the master plan. So who wants to go first in telling us the story of how
Maybe.
it all began. You want
Because
to,
I remember creating the Open Space Commission and we wanted to get representation from all parts of the county, and I'll never forget Phyllis Snyder immediately volunteered. If anybody knows Phyllis Snyder, you know, Raymond Snyder's wife,
yep,
and she was there to make sure we were not taking their land.
her land, yeah.
Yeah, and so the Open Space Commission started out with, there was a lot of intrepidation about what is this the county is talking about doing. And the first Open Space Commission, I mean, it was run through the planning department, and I was staffed to the planning department, so I staffed the Open Space Commission. And it was very much focused on, I think GoCo had been created or something like that. So we were trying to we wanted to purchase agricultural easements, and I was very much focused on that. We created a credit card. It was a credit card, some special credit card where the percentage that you spent, and this was before everyone had mileage cards, but a percentage went back to the county's open space fund. So that gave us a little bit of money. We had all these little programs like pennies for open space, everything. We did everything possible to try to get match money in order to apply for grants to purchase ag easements. But in those days, you know, there was a Trails Commission, there was an Open Space Commission, the Historic Commission, there was all these different commissions that we staffed.
So was it an open space committee? An
It
open
was
space
with a committee, yeah.
committee? And
You say it was created in 95, it was just like an advisory committee to the commissioners, and it wasn't until I don't think 97 or 98 that we created actual department. And then I went over to become at that time I was Open Space and Rec Director.
wasn't that much earlier than that?
No, that was
95?
much later. That was much later that we
Okay.
created the department. It was just a commission, it was just an advisory board for many years, and that's when we did the plan. That's when we did the Code of the West, that was one of our first projects.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fabulous thing to help people moving into the county to
Yeah.
figure out how to live in a rural
Yeah.
district.
And
And
we had a lot of ranchers on our Open Space Commission to begin with.
Yeah, April, I was just gonna, no, thanks for all those details. I was just gonna ask if you had trouble staffing all these, because when you said, you know, you start out with all these different commissions and started staffing all these groups, you know, were you able to enlist all these volunteers, and were you looking for, you know, different pockets or segments of the county, you know, like we want someone from Norwood, we want someone from Down Valley, we want someone Telluride, et cetera. You know, were you looking to just have representation from each little area, or was it more just, you know, I realize how tough it is to get volunteers to sign up, so.
Okay, you correct me if I'm wrong, because Gary was on the Open Space Commission, but my memory is it wasn't hard. We definitely wanted representation from around the county, and we worked hard at that. But it wasn't as hard to get people, because I just don't think people were as busy. And we didn't have Zoom, we didn't have cell phones, and so we all came together. And Phyllis and all the different folks, I remember Stan Abrams from Wilson Mason, everyone would drive to the Open Space Commission meeting because it was a fun outing.
And it was new and it's fresh and yeah.
Sure, how fun.
well, and there was a threat of, you know, people wandering around and maybe wanting to do something in the high country areas, and from what Roberta said, people were really hustling and working hard. They were aggressive and they were on it, and they were, you guys were really from the master plan and realizing that we needed to look at,
So that's a
not
different
control
story.
growth, but yeah.
Yeah, can I tell that story? So that's totally different, and it really has nothing to do with the Open Space Commission. The Open Space Commission was focused really on preserving ag lands. And the Schmidt Ranch came up, and Gary was super involved in that.
right.
So that was one of our first big projects. And we did quite a few of the purchase for open space that the county had. But the High Country Zone District came out of a completely different aspect with a planning department, and Charlie Knox was at that time, Richard left, and Charlie Knox was the director, and it was myself and Karen Henderson, and it was we were talking a lot about, it was just then when things like it was probably pre-Tom Chapman, but it was still, there was this, we were starting to get people interested in mining claims and building on mining claims. And at that time, Telluride was just getting to that point where people had money and we heard about helicopter access. And so we working where we had created the wetlands regulations earlier.
Hmm.
And we had great relationships with CSU Boulder. And David Cooper, who helped us with the wetlands, had introduced us to Mark Williams. And he was our guy who we sat down with and said, how do we protect the high country zone? And we knew we couldn't just do a blanket elevation line and say all land above. We had to have a legitimate rationale that these lands were to be protected. And especially if we wanted to create house size limitations or helicopter limitations,
Mhm.
we needed to have some basis to do that. So that's where Mark Williams from CSU Boulder, CU, sorry, provided a grad student. And we put together this idea of collecting scientific data, and then we have a report, and from that, we created the language that is now in the master plan, which is why these lands are so important, so fragile, why health and safety is at risk if there is development. And I am so proud to see, because until you had initiated this conversation, I wasn't even sure it was still in the zone district. And it is, and it's better than what we created. It is, I mean, everything's in there with house size limitations and helicopter access limits and all of that. And so I think the county's done an amazing job at preserving this initial work that Alessandra was out there proving the importance of.
Yeah, let's give Alessandra a minute to, you
Yeah.
want to tell about your research as a
Oh, my.
grad
so
student?
When this sort of came my way and was presented to me, it was a dream come true, because I always wanted to, I had a goal to live in Telluride for at least a year and ski bum or whatnot.
And speaking to the mic, so.
And then, yeah, Mark Williams was one of my main professors and inspirations at CU Boulder. I did a lot of snow science and internships with him, and he presented that he needed a field assistant for his PhD student, Barbara Inyan. And I was able to secure some grant funding from CU Boulder, doing my own research project to come out here for the summer and be her little field mouse and run around to 18 high elevation headwater basins, collecting low elevation and high elevation samples. And I'm not the chemist. I ran a lot of the water chemistry myself on the kitchen counter in Lawson Hill with titration kits and so on. But we sent the majority of the samples off to the Mountain Research Station on Niwot Ridge and in Boulder. And Barbara should really be here to talk about it. She had her research published in the Mountain Research and Development periodical in 2001. And basically, we were looking at water quality as a parameter to gauge what perturbations to the high country anthropogenic disturbances could cause to happen. And so we're looking at all the headwater basins and trying to determine which ones are sensitive and how. So we primarily looked at nutrients, phosphates and sulfates. The San Miguel River has a long history of having too high of nutrient levels at the headwaters here, perhaps from the mine tailings, perhaps from the natural geology of sedimentary and volcanic rock. But you can see walking the river trail that there's a lot of algal growth all year in the San Miguel. So to have more of that put in at high elevation from tributaries would be a bad thing. And we also were looking at acid neutralizing capacity and pH and acid mine drainage as our leading parameters. But I mean, when we got all the data back, there were, I would say, probably about 50 pages of data for
Wow.
all the major cations and anions that we ran analysis on.
That was all these high basins up in here?
Yeah, and some of
Mostly
them,
here?
Yep, some of them had to be monitored on a weekly basis. Like we were looking at pre-growing season and during the growing season to see how the water chemistry changed. But the water chemistry results were very supportive of the fact that the high country is fragile and needs to be preserved. So if you're bulldozing roads and the snow's melting and running, it'll take the quickest pathway down and it'll collect minerals and sulfates from the bare road base. Also considering things like putting in septic tanks at high elevation and how that could disturb water quality in different catchments. So we were primarily looking at nutrients and acids and buffering capacity of the catchments.
So it was all written up in a, did you say
Yeah.
50-page report? And that
No,
was-
no, that was how many pages of data we got back
Oh,
from the
yeah.
labs.
Was
This is just like, I brought 2 copies. If you guys are interested, you're welcome to have them for your files or look them up online. But this is for publication and it's only about 7 pages long, but the results were directly supportive of protecting the high country around the headwaters of the San Miguel.
So you guys made the right call and calling in that research. That's great. So then from there, it was,
Well, from there, we created the master plan and then the land use code, and I was telling them I'm so proud the county has kept this and it's better than ever than when originally created, so it's great.
we've just been talking about some of the earlier steps
what I
that have been
wanted to hear,
taken
and
way back. Well, this is recorded, so.
Okay, good.
Yeah. We have Commissioner Brown and Joanna in attendance and, all right.
Yeah, and real quick, I just wanted to add to your point, April, that we did invite Kay Simonson, our planning director, to attend, but she's on vacation for the next couple of weeks. Otherwise, she would have been here too, just to attest to the fact that, you know, you're just confirming the details that currently exist in the current code.
Yeah, we were really afraid at the time, like the Tom Chapmans and those that would sue us, so we felt like we really had to have this background information in order for this to hold up. And at the time, it was really novel. We called around because we always call around different planning departments. Do you have anything like this? No one did. So, and I still think it's a pretty novel zone district. I don't know if there are other towns that have modeled after us.
Yeah, I know another grad student who came after Barbara who tried to replicate this project in Silverton. Is that San Juan County? And there was so much public opposition to it. She had a really hard time with it. Whereas all the stakeholders here were generally supportive, but they are more, closed off to outsiders coming in and doing scientific research in the high country there.
And what year were you doing your research?
That was in 1997.
1990.
That was the year I landed here.
Yeah, well, and that's how you got here.
And that resulted in me being here.
Yeah, that's great.
And having a few kids here.
So Gary has to leave soon to get to Natarita or Nucla, right? So we're going to let you continue if you have anything more to add. Just how many years were you with
So
the county doing, with these little steps moving
Yeah,
forward?
Yeah, and so then, I moved to the open space director, I think it was like 1998 or 9, whenever the department was created. And, worked for 2 more years for the county. And then, Linda Luther had been on, I think, the Open Space Commission. And then, so we hired Linda to be my replacement as the open space director. And we were just, at that time, we were just starting to work on, although this might be the recreation issue, we were starting to work on Glasgow Park and the ballot issue. So we were laying the seeds for getting that ballot issue passed. And then I think it passed right when Linda came on.
The ballot issue for the Open Space Commission to be the advisory board
No, to be the open space rec.
and rec
The mill
department,
levy?
because
The mill levy. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
the ballot
the
issue.
mill levy.
Yeah.
that's what has kind of changed over time, because there was the Open Space Department and the Trails Commission.
That was, yeah.
And then that Trails Commission went away and we kind of took it on as the trails as kind of
Morphed into the Open Space Commission of what is today.
kind of just folded into it. Yeah,
But that was when Linda was still here. So that was years ago.
yeah. Gary, are you itching to chime in here? Your fingers have been all over it here and there in different capacities. Starting,
Well, I guess if I were to go back to the beginning, I'd say back in the seventies, as Susie said, I think everybody in town had envisioned trying to protect the valley floor, trying to protect Bear Creek. Those two properties specifically. But what really, I think, got the whole thing going was when the town did the election in '93, was the 20% solution. You guys probably all know about that, 20% of all town revenues. Sales tax, real estate transfer tax, business license, everything, 20% off the top went to open space preservation. I was the director of, well, I was on the Open Space Commission. And when that happened, the 20% solution passed, the town decided to create an open space commission. I think there were 7 people appointed. We got together for the first meeting and we literally, like this, we sat around and went, okay, what now?
Now what?
And I sort of said, well, I know a guy named Marty Zeller. I've worked with, he's over in Denver, and he has done a lot of open space work. And we called him, we did a conference call right there at that first meeting and said, what do we do? I mean, what are your thoughts? We're suddenly gonna be looking at millions of dollars coming in for open space protection. What are your thoughts? And we basically came out of that meeting with a decision to develop an open space master plan, which we did over the next year or so. So that was a big deal. That sudden influx of cash. I think counties like Jeffco and some others probably have a larger dollar amount, but in terms of a per capita basis, Telluride probably was putting more money into open space preservation than any place in the state. It was tremendous. And then what happened is, and I think this was sort of a pivotal moment, Rich Salem had moved to town a year or two before that, and he literally wanted to do something to give back to this community. I mean, he felt really strongly about that. He, unbeknownst to us on the Open Space Commission, gave Larry Ragland a call. He's the guy that bought Bear Creek from Jack Hawkins, the whole 320 acres.
Hello, can anyone in the meeting room hear me? If you all can hear me, Jason and I have seemed to have lost audio on the meeting.
Oh, okay, yeah, no,
Oh, there, you're back.
yeah, I'm sorry, Glenn, I saw you had your hand raised before, and for some reason we had a glitch where the whole thing shut down and I had to restart.
Can you hear me now, Galena?
I can hear you all now. Unfortunately, I lost you. I don't know when Jason dropped out, probably the same time, right when Gary was talking about Rich Salem. I'm just so fascinated by all of this. I must say I'm learning a lot right now.
Well, let me start from the beginning.
Yeah.
When I was 5 years old, kindergarten teacher was, you can listen to it, Galena, it's probably better than.
Yeah, I'll re-listen to the recording.
So anyway, that's kind of how I see the beginnings of the open space one. The Bear Creek, we were the first GOCO grant when it was formed. And they gave us $200,000 and they did a couple others with us. That was great. Yeah, I think that's kind of it. It's just progressed incredibly over the years. I'm not sure, I quit 4 or 5 years ago, and Chris Hazen is now the director. Chris is probably, I would say, way more qualified than I ever was, in terms of his background. I was like when I worked for the town, a number of jobs, it was learn as you go. But we were able to accomplish a lot of stuff, and I think the open space master plan and all of that still exists and it's still in use, and so
So can you guys clarify, you talk about the master plan, so that we had in the 70s created this, or was it the 80s?
it was a town master plan.
Well, it was a county master plan for what are we gonna do with the whole area, but then was there a different open space master plan? Well, or was that the open lands plan?
That's the counties.
That was the count.
Mm-hmm.
Gary was talking about the towns.
The town did an open space master plan. I remember Johnny Stevens calling me and literally saying, please do not include the valley floor in this thing. And I said, sorry, Johnny is a good friend, still is.
Yeah.
And I had to say, nah, sorry, John, it's not gonna happen. That's gonna be a big part. You mentioned about the county, going out and identifying properties. We never did that as the foundation. My philosophy was always that open space is a game of opportunities, and you jump on the opportunity when it comes up. You identify 1, 2, 3, 4, number 5 comes up, you should grab it.
Right, and you've done a really great job of that up in Bear Creek with how many 10 different mining claims you?
10 or 12,
Yeah.
probably. It's 100 and, I wrote it down, 190. We just about doubled the size of the Bear Creek Preserve. Anything that was contiguous with the existing easement, we went after. When the Trust for Public Land did the high country in Uray, they got that all done, and then they came over the pass and did, if you may not have heard this, those mining claims were referred to as the pickup sticks, because they just literally are just
Like little
massive
fingers.
lines overlapping each other. And Eric Love and Doug Botham were the two guys from TPL that were doing that project. And I had just said to them, look, anything that's contiguous with Bear Creek, I want you to sell that to me, because if you sell it to the Forest Service, suddenly you have mining claims contiguous with Bear Creek Preserve, where somebody could go up and actually camp on the property. There's no camping allowed in Bear Creek on the preserve. And for example, if the Little Canton Mill site, which is kind of right here in the middle, if that had gone to the Forest Service, we'd be dealing with a situation of having to police or deal with
Right.
campers and all the things that go with that.
Yeah.
So we were very concerned with maintaining that.
So before April leaves, this is the, for those of you that were not here at the very beginning, this open lands, San Miguel County Open Lands Plan is kind of what was created way back when, and April was involved in it. And then in it, on page 6, this is what, another thing on our work plan is to go over this matrix, and the Telluride Open Spaces tried to kind of update this to relook at. So I wish I was trying to find this on here to be able to share the screen, but it's just this one-page matrix that would look at different priorities and give values to these different lands that you would use to consider for a conservation easement even,
Right.
or for maybe purchasing for open space. But it's things like the need for protection, is it urgent? Potential development threats, parcel size. Do we still use this today?
We have similar criteria in the land heritage program.
Yeah, so that must have come from this, because this was the,
No, so that came from that plan in 1998.
right?
But we had already been doing easements, and that, because we had to have some criteria, because we were doing easements, just as Gary said, it was more like opportunity, so Schmid Ranch
Right.
fell on our lap.
Which was the first easement that it was the county and us and Nature Conservancy.
Well, when you say us, who do you mean?
The foundation.
Okay,
Yeah, Gary was on the Open Space Commission, but maybe at that time he wasn't. We were working with him as a partner, sure. But we also did several other easements out in the West End, one in far West End, and I can't remember the guy's name.
well, we have,
Old Rancher, and then also, there was also Jim Young, who did an easement.
Okay.
So there's a few, and they're probably on that map.
well, no, you'll be
There's a
happy to
lot.
know that we've over the years continued to do contiguous, and so there's quite a block of several of them out there,
Yeah.
building on what you guys started.
That's great.
And that's what I'm just so impressed with, is that what we're using today is probably built off of this. Our work plan is built off of the resolution that was updated from the original resolution when the first, which came from. So I'm just myself going through this exercise, I'm just blown away by all, and the way that you guys all work together, county, town,
Yeah,
and
good.
it was just this, well, because I remember a time when we were saying no development, right? And when we got scared of what was going to happen here, it was like, we were called no growthers, and then that wasn't going to work. And then we became controlled growthers, or, really looking at it. And then, out of that came all these other master plan and this and that. Did you have a question, John? Go to your, who does? Galena, go ahead.
Oh,
Galena.
I was just wondering if there was a contiguous map somewhere with all of those conservation lands. The county has a similar map with the land heritage program. I think it would be
Yeah, you mean the mining claims or the?
the conservation easements.
That's it, the county's map on the conservation easements.
That's it. Okay. Great. I'm just making sure I wasn't missing any of these by looking at this map.
Yeah, I mean, Galena, that's it to date, and then that'll include the new one that we discussed in.
Yes.
When it closes.
Which kind of gets us to a point, just a quick segue, is that for many years, we were on that conservation easement kind of quest and educating in the county about it. And then the tax laws changed, and there was a little bit of corruption going on. And for some reason, when Linda Luther was still on, we kind of had to reevaluate what are we really about now that we're not doing that. But now, right, Janet, we're kind of back moving forward with a lot more action. What was it, Colorado West?
Colorado West Land Trust.
Land Trust is a lot more active and busy, and they're doing $1 million ranches. And so that we're kind of back on track with that, and may move more into, education. And in the earlier days, the ranchers and property owners landowners didn't want to do business with us because we were government, it was like, which I'm sure you experienced that too.
I think one of the things that helped make this program so successful was we weren't government, and using that example over in Norwood, that lady was willing to work with us because we made the deal happen in 3 days.
Hmm.
She'd have gone through the town, she'd have been months and listening to people complain about you're paying too much, whatever. Gone through hell to do that, and one of the real advantages of a private organization like that is the ability to negotiate and strike a deal and make it happen without going through a public process. It ultimately goes through a public process, but not all the negotiations and all the other stuff. I was gonna say something else and I've lost it.
Oh, could you
Sure.
help me understand the financing of these kind of easements? So it's the foundation, and then there was the Rich Salem who's coming up with the money, but then you said the government or the foundation reimbursed him the money. Like, is it all these entities that kind of figure out the money to make the purchase from the owner, and then it goes under a easement, a conservation easement?
Well, I focused on Bear Creek. That's just one easement that we
Right.
hold of the 20 or so, and we hold easements on thousands of acres around the county.
Right.
So to make it simple, somebody wants to do a conservation easement on their property. They call, I want to do this. I go out, or Chris now goes out and says, okay, great, here's how it works. You got 350 acres. You can develop, you can have 10, you have the right to develop 10 lots. You want to develop 8 lots and do an easement on 2? We're not interested. You want to do a development on 2 lots and preserve the other 8? We want to work with you. So then these are basically donations. All these land, these kinds of conservations are the people putting a conservation easement on their property and basically donating their development rights. Both the state and the federal government have created these incentives through tax returns and so forth.
Right.
When I was talking about Bear Creek and getting reimbursed, that was the town open space money. So the town was generating about 4 million a year. Is my recollection. Does anybody? It was about 4 million a year. I think a couple million from real estate transfer and a couple million from all the other sources, sales tax primarily. So when the town would pay us back on these easements that we were purchasing, and it's only in Bear Creek where we're really purchasing them, except for Schmidt Ranch, and I'll give you a brief on that. That the town is paying us back with those open space funds. On the Schmidt Ranch deal, what happened is we actually purchased their development rights. And it started out in the mid-million. And it ultimately ended up, I think we paid 2.3.
Well, we got a GoCo grant.
Yeah, we got a GoCo
And we
grant,
did fundraising, remember
And-
those fundraising parties?
the big bucking
The
party.
big
right?
fucking party.
But so like for that case, we raised money. We got grants, the town donated some, the county donated
Cash
some,
money.
but a lot was from the public. And we purchased their development rights. And I can't remember the numbers now in terms of.
Yeah, how many rights did you retire?
To make these happen, it's various entities.
Oh,
that
yeah,
have
yeah,
to-
it's a huge partnership.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the Nature Conservancy,
Mhm.
they were involved at the beginning. And then
They're,
Becky Hall was the regional representative. She dropped out. They dropped out of the Schmidt
they went
Ranch.
to their Washington DC legal office, and their attorneys in DC said, we're not touching this.
Yeah, and so the Nature
Mm.
Conservancy backed out of it.
Yeah,
So it was just us and the county that finalized the whole deal.
With Schmidt Ranch.
Pardon me?
With which one?
Schmidt.
Schmidt Ranch, yeah.
And now, Joanna, there are all the land trust companies that will pay for it and we pay the transaction fees.
Right, that's like the guy who came
Right,
last time.
right,
who was
right.
last-
And they're,
When you
Variety
mentioned
Joe's.
Colorado Western, is that Rob Blindberg still?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Nick Jacobson?
Yeah, it used to be,
well, they merged, two of them merged. Is it Montezuma
Yeah.
and?
No.
and Chris is working on a couple of easements right now up on Specie Mesa. Probably, 500 to 1,000 acres, I think he's working on right now, so. I mean,
Yeah.
the process goes on.
April, thank you so much. Did you get a chance to look at the current? Can you put mine up
The
now?
current-
How do I get mine up? The current land use code, the high country area? Okay, okay, great. Okay.
I was so impressed. And
Right.
it's really heartwarming to see all the great work the Space Commission is doing, knowing that like all this stuff, as Gary said, sometimes we were just flying by the seat of our pants, not knowing what you're doing.
I think a lot of the time. But April was running a really great program here at the county. Lance was kind of running the open space at the town with the commission and just so much stuff got done. I mean, it's actually, it's really amazing.
Well, as Roberta said, you guys were all really aggressive and really going for it. She said hustling, aggressive.
Susie, do you not have a copy of the town open space master plan? You should get a copy of that from Lance.
Yeah,
If you
from
wanna, if you're critical.
the town. Oh, yeah, from the town. Thank you so much. for that. Okay, so if I could share how do I get to share my screen? Here.
Well, you're,
Click.
the co-host, so you should give it a.
I see this game.
Your.
I'll go to Zoom.
You have-
Okay, start video, record.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's- should be able to-
Where do I see that though? Share
Yeah,
screen.
so.
Susie, you could talk to Chris and he could put together a packet for you of things like these maps of what the foundation has done, the open space master plan from Lance. There's a lot of stuff that's available if you're trying to put together some kind of a life.
No, I'm just trying to educate our commission as to the high country zone and not to get specific about, anything that's happening currently, but just so that we can be aware if something comes up in the high country area that we are, ready and able. I can't share my screen, but I'll just go back to,
Yeah, you should. yeah,
Well, the
that's
high
your-
country zone is gonna be
there it is.
hugely
There it
critical
is. Okay,
in
so.
dealing with the Tom Chapmans of the world.
So this is what's in the land use code. I'm getting a little feedback here.
This was updated just last year.
Turn this volume on.
I did, yeah, I did. And it's also muted. So here's just this is section 237, which is in the land use code. And this is just kind of the beginning, preserving the right to encourage private efforts to preserve land in the high country master plan area through conservation easements with land trusts or by sale, transfer or land exchange, da, 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 da. That's that part. And then the actual verbiage, and we're not going to get into it all, but that's 321. Oh, yeah, wish I was more adept at doing this. 321, that's not going to get me all the way.
That's what you.
Is that what you have there, Alessandra?
Yeah, April just passed too.
Dang it.
You wanna just reference the hard copy, Susie?
Sure. Because we're definitely not going to go over the all nitty gritty of it, but basically, yeah, the purpose and then getting specifically to the uses allowed and basically single family residential dwellings and then the size. So only so many square feet, very limited. Talked about the driveways, the roads, the detached, it's basically very limited. And I'm not going to go into the details of it, but just for people to know that in our land use code, it's very specific about discouraging development. And then whatever development is there has to go by this code and has to be very, very limited. So that was my only purpose, was to, bring us up to speed on what the high country area is and also the history of Open Space Commission and the pride that we should feel to know that, well, where we've come from and where we are and what we're still doing. And also to note that we may be picking up interest on the conservation easements. Yeah. Joanna?
Question for Gary, is there a concern right now for the land that just went for sale above? Or they're trying to sell above Bear Creek at the top of the falls?
I think we were going to
Thinking,
kind
yeah.
of stay away from that topic tonight.
Yeah,
Well, I was thinking a Ferris would be appropriate.
put a Ferris wheel up there, that'd be cool.
I think-
I think there
Or
are
a bump
access
out,
issues.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think there's some
There's
pretty
a great deal of
significant.
Concern from us, and we've been working with the landowner for years. And have, at this point, it's probably better off not talking about it, but there's stuff going on.
Okay.
Okay, well,
Commissioner Gleason has her hand.
Commissioner Gleason.
Oh, I just wanted to weigh in first off and say thank you. I'm so glad I joined this meeting because I definitely connected some dots on some questions that I've had actually for years. So really
Great.
informative. And I just wanted to let you all know something that has recently kind of come on my periphery that I'm working on is to further strengthen source water protection language in the land use code. And I've been talking with Kay Simonson about initiating that process. And this, I've been talking with John, I always botch his last name, Wontrobsky, specifically about the OFER source water protection documents that are in place that are really strong. And I'm wanting to kind of carry some of that language over to the county land use code.
Okay. Yeah, great. Keep us posted on that. And because we are
Yeah.
trying to be a little more involved in land use code updates and
Great. Yeah, I would hope the Open Space Commission could have that come before you all and get your input.
Galena, are you aware of the EPA work that was done? I did all the field work for it also, for source water protection for several areas around here. For Telluride, can't remember if I did OFER, but for Sawpit and Telluride for sure. With Mike Wireman, he was our EPA point person for many years. So there was data and there was quite a bit of work done, I would say, back in the early 2000s.
Great. Yeah. And I've been talking with Adrienne Bergier about all of that data that exists and really just looking into like strengthening language in the land use code that would be kind of backed up by all that data that was recorded.
I think that's a really valid and important point that is brought up, is that there is so much previous stuff done that people don't know, because then the next person comes on and you don't know and you don't.
I know.
So that's really important to go back and dig and find. I mean, it's not that hard to find.
You know, back in 97, my research project was stored on a floppy disk, and I can't, I don't know where that is.
Galena, I think that's really important that you're looking into the verbiage of it, because as we saw the new mining claims coming in, we realized that the strength of the verbiage and how it was written, 10 years ago, could all be updated, and it's quite rigorous to do, but I'm glad you're on it.
Yeah, and it's honestly just come into my kind of field of vision in the last couple of weeks as I attended this Growing Water Smart workshop and just kind of honed in on the fact that San Miguel County's source water protection language could be stronger. So, yeah.
Is the planning commission probably? Oh, and you were on the planning commission, or you are?
Yes.
Are you still?
No, I can't. I'm not able to be on that commission anymore with my new position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They may be ready for another
Project
section to upgrade, right?
Right. I'm sure they'll thank me profusely.
Right.
But yeah, it's so important. And all the work, as you say, that's been done up until this point, it would be great to integrate that data and, help that kind of inspire the stronger language in the land use code.
And you say
and especially looking at the mining regulations that are being developed right now, there's mention of source water, but to back that up with stronger language deeper in the land use code, that's just gonna, create better protection for potential mining developments.
So Alessandra, what was the date of your research again?
of this recent for the headwaters.
Yeah.
1997.
1997. So just
conducted.
maybe see if Berger has that. 1997.
And to your knowledge, Alessandra, no study like this has been done since?
In San Miguel County?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. There has been continuing research on other parameters of this. Like, for instance, Mark Williams, who has since passed away a couple of years ago, unfortunately, but he was always very interested in nitrogen, atmospheric deposition of nitrogen in Waterfall Canyon and Ophir. And all of our high alpine lakes around here have really elevated levels of nitrogen. And he was trying to figure out why. And there have been other studies going on, but this hasn't been recreated. Presumably from the Four Corners power plants is what he was modeling it from. But hasn't that big Four Corners coal burner been shut down since? I don't think so. I know it was on the docket to be shut down.
Well, anyway, here's a connection. Galina and Alessandra.
Yes.
There you go. Hi,
Oh, it's so great.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to me. Susie knows how to find me.
All right.
Although I'm
Thank
not
you.
in science these days. That was all historic. So
Well, that's-
It's to dabble and get back to your
Yeah.
passion area. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gary, anything else that you're thinking of?
Alexander just mentioned Waterfall Canyon. I guess I would add to the relationship we have with the town. We have a very similar relationship with the town of Ophir, where we've done a number of easements up in Waterfall Canyon that, and one in particular that the owner hates the town of Ophir and the town of Ophir hates the guy. And we were able to come in as a separate entity and negotiate a deal. So it's been really great working with the town of Ophir as well in the same kind of a situation.
Well, I noticed in the high country area zone discussions, I don't know if that was in the land use code or what, but it was Telluride and Ophir. Or was it Telluride and Rico? I think it was Telluride and Ophir as part of the high country area.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
included in that high country area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the headwaters tributaries that we sampled were all around Ophir.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's,
Deals that we're doing in Ophir, all mining related. And in fact, we're working on another one right now that's dealing with a draining adit that's coming out across one of the easements that we have. And the town's gonna redirect that water flow through another easement, so.
Well, I feel like we barely scratched the surface. We just sort of scratched a little here and a little there, but with the how it all comes together is just, it's beautiful. I think it's really fascinating. I don't think we realize that when we're doing these little bits of details on the agenda, to
Yeah.
see the big picture.
Really
So I
get to see
really
the
appreciate you
history.
guys coming to share.
of course. My pleasure.
And I'll let you know our work plan. So then when we look at these resolutions that were made to then create from what was earlier, the open lands plan and the master plan and the to then it became resolution, and then the open space commission as an advisory board was created, and then that was updated, and in there somewhere it said about a work plan, and we have a pretty hefty work plan that we developed 5 or 6 years ago and that we're updating every year, and I would be glad to email that to you just out of curiosity
Do you guys still have a crossover?
No, that went away.
But that went away at the town's request, not the county.
Well, because they took all their commissions and dropped them down from 5 to 3 people. And I was the crossover person and term limited them. And so some longstanding members are off. It was kind of disturbing, but anyway. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Susie, could-
Thank you for all you guys.
thank you all so much. This was great. And Susie, could you email me that work plan just so I can get up to speed on that?
Sure. Yep.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. You all
Thank
have
you for coming, everybody. I really enjoyed that.
It's Barbara's.
Yeah, no, thanks. So we're not done yet,
Connecting those
Jason.
stories.
So Jason and Yvette, you must stay on.
All right. Everyone have a good evening.
Thanks,
Lena.
Lena,
Thank
you
you for
too.
coming.
Yeah. Take care.
I think it'll be a pretty quick meeting tonight. We just now have old business. Actually, we were gonna review the minutes, but we'll just give a few minutes of transition time here. So hang out just a minute. Thank you, Commissioner Brown, for coming. It's great. Oh, no worries. You didn't miss a lot because we were kind of fragmented at the beginning because people came. People came in. So then we start, stop. Okay.
I mean, I know of it.
Thank you. I mean, that was a fun slice of it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, no. So pretty. I think I'm gonna go upstairs and have a migraine.
Excellent.
Keep up the good work, guys.
Did she say you have a migraine?
No, I had an ocular migraine from 4:30 to 5, so I couldn't see anything
Today?
just now.
Oh, geez.
Nice to meet you, Gary.
It's been
Oh,
Yeah.
you for years.
I know. Thanks for being here.
it's scary.
See
Love
us.
you.
Yeah, so.
Videos.
Wait,
I'm
look, it's-
just disclosing that in case I was making weird expressions. I couldn't see anything.
Janet, you were having a migraine during this?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, why didn't you tell us?
Oh. Well, it's ocular, so I don't always get a headache, but I lose my vision.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You were,
Yes.
Wow. Well,
Yes.
we couldn't tell.
and did you just,
Yeah, that's why I kept going like this, because, yeah.
did
Anyway.
you come out of it now?
Yeah, I can see now.
Okay. All right. Well, we can, we went over quite a bit of the old business last year. I will just say, we have 4 of us here. And
So, yeah,
we'll
and then
try
I
to
have a
approve the
couple of
minutes.
few little things, and then if you want to, approve the minutes.
Okay. Did you get to see the minutes?
Yeah.
And, I wonder where Sephra was today.
I don't know.
Thank you, Sephra, for writing the minutes. Does anybody have a motion and a second on the minutes? I will, that was for the meeting of 4/28.
Yes.
Joanna makes a motion to approve
The minutes.
approve the minutes of 4/28. Thank you, Joanna.
I'll second.
Jason seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Yvette? Okay, I will say the minutes are approved. And then old business, we'll keep it very brief, Janet, because
Yeah.
we need to conclude here for you.
Oh, well, I have to drive to Grand Junction as soon as we finish.
No, not with a migraine.
Yeah, I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow. Anyway, so yeah, just a couple of quick updates. So I don't know if many of you remember, but yeah, I did a community survey for Mill Creek Park a few years ago.
Right.
So the county commissioners have requested that I go back to the community and just reassess their wants and desires for that parcel. So I drafted up a new survey. I met with Ann Brown today. I shared it with the county commissioners last week. So just minor changes. I'll share it with all of you as well. It's pretty much the same questions, and it pretty much includes all the amenities we plan on including in the park. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. They wanted this to be released for a 2 to 3 month period. So once I get these final edits done, after chatting with Suzanne Chevins today and Ann Brown, I will share that with you. So that'll be going out shortly. And yeah, and as I mentioned at the last meeting, I currently have an RFP out right now for the regrading of the site and soil preparation. That's due back on the 23rd, so this Friday. And then I want to let you guys know that I got an email this afternoon from Heidi at the Mountain Club. So she's requesting a meeting with Megan Eno of the U.S. Forest Service, Lance McDonald of the town, Devin Hornvent of Iderado Newmont, and myself for the county regarding the Southside Perimeter Trail. Because as everybody knows, we received those letters during the draft EA comment period with the NEPA process. So they want to get together and just discuss the items that came about so that the U.S. Forest Service can accurately address the comments for their next steps, which then coincide with the draft decision. So, granted, only a small, very small portion of this trail crosses U.S. Forest Service property, but we still need to get all the stakeholders together and do this. So they're looking to hopefully get together next week. And then I want to let everybody know that this Wednesday at 10:20 a.m., the Chavano Conservation District is on the agenda with the county commissioners. So they are involved. So Chris Hazen of the Terra Firm administers the county's PES program, Payment for Ecosystem Services. And the Chavano Conservation District got involved last year because they have a great team, and Chris just can't do it all alone. So they're going to be presenting this Wednesday, and it really isn't an update, so to speak, on the county's PES program. It's more an update on all of their projects. So they have
All of the Chavano projects?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, and Chavano is based in Montrose. So they're going to be doing a PowerPoint on all their projects. And I actually have their PowerPoint slides, which I can share with all of you. Again, you're all welcome to attend the meeting if you're interested this Wednesday, 10:20 a.m., either in person here or through Zoom, or I can just simply send you the slides and you can be informed that way.
Can you email us the
Sure.
slides, and then we have the choice and see? That's great. Okay, thank you, Janet. Do you want any more of us to come to the meeting with Heidi on the perimeter trail, or are you?
Well, I was
this morning.
the first to respond, so let me first see how everybody else responds, because the biggest challenge is getting all the stakeholders together. So
Okay, well, keep me in the loop. I might be able to come if
Sure.
you want. Anybody have anything else to share? Okay, let's see, what was I just gonna say? Oh, so these two things on our planning department section of our work plan, I think we can take these off of the work plan for next year. They were review the high country zoning district in the land use code, San Miguel County, to understand the history, purpose, and implications for future open spaces and mining claims. So we'll just kind of keep that in the back of our mind, all the work and the history that's gone into the high country area and the mining claims and what else we might want to support for, open space or whatever. And then D was to review the land use code with regards to mining as it intersects with open space and Gunnison sage grouse. We do that. I'm sorry, I skipped one. The other was review and discuss the high country zoning area district rubric, and it was really the matrix, and I was calling it the rubric, and that's that thing that I was sharing out of this. That is really just guided people over the years of, is this land valuable? Why is it valuable? So I think those can come off the work plan for next year. That's been sitting on there for years, and I
oh, okay.
check.
Yeah, do you mind sending me an email with that?
With what?
With those notes that you want me to take off?
Oh, I'll connect with you about that.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Oh, and real quick, speaking of Gunnison sage grouse, Galena Gleason was out with Craig Grother last week, and they're up on Wrights Mesa. I forget exactly where they were, but anyway, they saw Gunnison sage grouse. So they saw lots of activity, and Craig has been reporting that there has been an increase in the numbers. So
Wow.
exciting news, because for all the hundreds of acres I've walked, I've never seen a damn little bird.
Well, and then the Lex on our OA Gregor property. I wonder how that's looking. So did you do the site walk on the west, on that conservation easement?
Yes. Oh, yes. So sorry, I should also mention that. So at the county, oh yeah, and I included that in the minutes.
I saw that.
Zephyr sent me a rough draft, so I edited and added all my own stuff in there. But yeah, so Nick and I met with county commissioners May 7th out in Egnar, and we discussed the land conservation easement. And it was interesting because the community out there, whereas, we felt it was a win-win for the community, there were a couple of people who really didn't understand the process or understand, government's involvement in retiring development rights. So long story short, the county commissioners approved the $35,000 request for funding. Everybody was supportive, and a few members of the community spoke up, and they were highly supportive. So it was, great, like I said, win-win for everybody.
Oh, good.
And then Nick, myself, and Julie Kolb, our noxious weed manager, we drove out to the ranch, which was really, like maybe 20, 25 minutes away from Egnar Slick Rock. And we met with the two ranch managers. And yeah, we were out there for a few hours. I mean, we didn't see the entire 5,720 acres, but we saw a good portion of it. And it's amazing how just green and lush it actually is. We saw at least one historic cemetery. Of course, I made everybody get out so I could go take pictures. And yeah, and as Nick mentioned when he was here, it's a real unique opportunity because they do this regenerative ag grazing, because being surrounded by BLM and U.S. Forest Service land, they have like 80,000 acres of which the cattle, the livestock can graze year round. So they're constantly moving them and, and just letting that, the previous pastures regenerate and, before moving them back. So it's a healthy process. And so Julie will be meeting with them again to discuss a noxious weed management plan for the parcel. And then we also talked about potentially getting them involved in our PEZ program. And it was exciting because, they're all gung ho about it and they have a lot of plans for that land. And, they just have a lot of highly qualified people working there, so they know what they're doing.
Great. Any sage or sage grouse out there?
Didn't see any, but doesn't mean they're not there. Or
Okay.
sage grouse.
Anything else? Anything we should be looking at for next month? We should probably get it going on that OA Gregor curriculum or whatever, or is there a grant for that?
Yes, and Greg had been working on that. Well, and that was something too with the OA Gregor committee, because, I'd asked him right before he left, just the document itself, just to whether or not it was even finalized.
Management plan?
Yeah, because we had discussed it.
I think,
And,
Yvette, what are your thoughts on that? Do you remember?
I thought it was finalized.
I do
Okay.
too.
Yeah, the last thing we did was add sort of like an intro to it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember discussing that. It's been a while.
It has been.
Okay, I think what no.
Oh, yes. So the Bridal Veil platform, viewing platform and deck and steel steps. We have been in touch with the contractor. So the biggest thing is just getting access due to various projects that are going on in the East End and the fact that there's still snow on K69. So access is somewhat limited. So I was hoping to get it in there before June, because that's when Road and Bridge then is going to go up there and start clearing out boulders and stuff. So we need it to stop snowing. So yeah, it's probably going to be late summer, unfortunately, but I'll keep you guys
I
posted.
saw in the paper that Bridal Veil is going to be closed for an extensive period of time.
That's Tomboy.
Oh,
Royer
that was
Gulch.
Tomboy, not Bridal?
Yeah, Royer Gulch. Yeah, because that washed out.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, without further ado, and so that Janet can go close her eyes and rest before you drive, we'll adjourn the meeting at 5:25. Thank you guys for being here. For a while, we were sitting with nobody and our three speakers. And
It
And
was
yeah,
so interesting. It was
Thank
really
you.
informative. Thank you.
good.
Yeah, great.
just to remind everybody, our next meeting is June 23rd at 4 o'clock
After Bluegrass.
after Bluegrass.
All right, well, this is an early one. Good. Have a good evening, everybody.
Well, thanks everybody. Appreciate all you do, and thanks for being here tonight.
Right on. Good night, guys.
All right, good night.
Take care.